Your suitcase hasn't changed. You've been carrying the same bag to visit your grandchildren for the past 10 years. Same wheels, same handle, same everything. It's been through security in Dallas, Chicago, and Atlanta at least like 50 times. There has never been a problem, never been a question, and certainly never a fee. This was the case with one of my clients, Linda. Up until last Tuesday, flying has been straightforward and easy. Linda is 72. She had a trip planned that she has been excited about for months. But last Tuesday, she showed up at the Phoenix airport like she always does, 3 hours early, boarding pass printed. Suitcase packed the exact same way she's packed it for a decade. The gate agent takes one look at her suitcase and says, "Ma'am, that bag won't fit anymore." Linda's confused and says, "But I've flown with this bag 100 times. The agent pulls out what looks like a handheld device, scans the suitcase, and a red light starts flashing. New rules as of 2026, it shows your bag is oversized, so you'll need to check it. "How much?" she asked. "That will be $300. Dorothy thought she heard wrong. $300 for a bag that's never been a problem. For a suitcase she bought specifically because it was carry-on sized, she asks to speak to a supervisor. The supervisor points to a digital screen showing measurements. Half an inch? That's how much Dorothy's bag is over the new limit. She pays the $300 because her grandkids are waiting in Boston, and missing the flight isn't an option. But that money was supposed to buy birthday presents. That money was budgeted for the trip, and now it's gone, handed over to an airline because of a rule that changed overnight and nobody sent her a letter, an email, or a warning. Here's what they're not telling you. 7 massive rule changes went into effect in 2026, and unless you fly every single week, you probably have no idea they exist. Your bag might be illegal now. Your power bank could get confiscated. That bottle of lotion you've carried for years is now banned at some airports, allowed at others, and there's no way to know which is which until you're already there. And the worst part? There's no human being to appeal to anymore. Laser scanners measure your luggage. Automated scales weigh it, and the computer system flags violations. The gate agent standing in front of you has zero authority to override the machine. The machine decides, and the machine is always right. And the machine doesn't care that you're 72 years old and you've been flying since before these robots existed. I'm about to walk you through exactly what changed, why nobody warned you, and, most importantly, what you can do right now, today. This is to make sure you're not the next person standing at a gate trying to figure out how a suitcase that's worked perfectly for 10 years suddenly costs $300 to bring on a plane. I want to hear from you. Have you flown recently and felt like something was different? Like the rules shifted but nobody bothered to explain? Tell me in the comments what happened, because I'm hearing these stories every single day, and you need to know you're not imagining it. By the way, a lot of people ask me which wheelchairs and walkers actually survive airline handling without getting damaged. I've linked the ones my senior clients swear by on the screen right now. These are items that have proven themselves on dozens of trips. Just thought I'd mention it in case you're looking. Now, let me tell you what happened to Linda's suitcase, because understanding this first rule change explains all the others. For decades, every airline had different size restrictions for carry-on luggage. One airline said your bag could be 22 inches tall. Another said 24. A third didn't seem to care as long as it fit in the bin. It was chaos, but it was manageable chaos. You learned your airline's rules, you stuck with bags that worked, and you were fine. But in 2026, that patchwork system ended. Every major airline in the world agreed on one universal carry-on size. 22 inches tall, 14 inches wide, 9 inches deep. In centimeters, that's 56 by 36 by 23. Yes, it sounds simple, and it would be, except for one critical detail that's catching everyone off guard. Everything counts now. Wheels, handles, external pockets, zippers that puff out even slightly when the bag is packed. A suitcase that used to pass inspection easily now triggers a red light on the new laser scanners that measure every millimeter. These aren't the old metal sizing cages you could squeeze a bag into if you pushed hard enough. These are motion tracking sensors that don't negotiate. There's no human discretion anymore. The machine measures, the machine decides, and if you're over by even a centimeter, you're paying to check that bag. Here's the part that should make you angry. Over 60% of carry-on bags sold before 2026 no longer meet the new standard. 60%. That means the suitcase you've been using for years, the one you maybe paid $200 or $300 for, the one that's been perfectly fine on dozens of flights, is now considered oversized. And airlines didn't grandfather in old bags. They didn't give travelers a grace period. They just started enforcing the new rules overnight and started collecting fees from people who had no idea anything had changed. Linda's bag was half an inch too tall because of the wheels. Half an inch, and it cost her $300. If you're still using a suitcase you bought before 2026, here's what you need to do right now, today, before your next flight. Get a tape measure and measure your bag with everything included. The wheels, the handle when it's retracted, any external pockets, everything. If any dimension is over the limit, you have two choices. Buy a new bag that's labeled as 2026 carry-on compliant, or accept that you'll be paying to check it every single time you fly. Some of the major luggage brands have already redesigned their bags to fit the new standards. Look for labels that say things like Global Carry-On Certified or 2026 Compliant. Those bags are built to pass the scanners. The ones that aren't might as well come with a gate check tag already attached. But even if your bag is the perfect size, there's a second trap waiting for you at the airport, and this one catches even more people. Because in 2026, airlines aren't just measuring your bag anymore. They're weighing it, and they're serious about it. The new global weight standard for carry-on luggage is between 8 and 10 kilograms. Depending on the airline, that's roughly 17 to 22 pounds. It doesn't sound that restrictive until you actually start adding things up. A laptop weighs about 4 pounds, a pair of sneakers, another 2 pounds, toiletries, a pound or two, a jacket, a book, a few changes of clothes, and suddenly you're pushing the limit without even trying. Here's what makes this particularly brutal. The scales are everywhere now. At check-in kiosks, at bag drop stations, even at the boarding gates. You set your bag down, and the system weighs it automatically. No asking, no warning. Just a readout on a screen. If you're over the limit, even by a pound, the options are not good. You can unpack your bag right there in front of everyone and try to redistribute weight into your pockets or your personal item. You can pay a surprise fee that usually ranges from $50 to $100. Or you can let them gate check your bag, which means you lose access to everything inside for the entire flight. Let me tell you about Robert. He's 74 years old, and he was flying to see his son in Denver. Robert brought gifts for his 3 grandchildren. Nothing extravagant, just some books, a couple of toys, things he'd picked out carefully because he knows what each kid likes. His carry-on weighed 24 pounds, 2 pounds over the limit. The gate agent told him he had 2 choices. Pay $75 or unpack the bag and leave items behind. Robert stood there in front of a line of impatient travelers and tried to decide which of his grandkids' presents he should abandon in a trash can at the airport. He ended up paying the $75, but he told me later that the humiliation of that moment, standing there while people sighed and checked their watches, was worse than the money. This isn't about safety. Airlines will tell you that weight restrictions are for fuel efficiency and overhead bin limits, and there's some truth to that. But the real reason is revenue. Enforcing weight limits on carry-ons is the newest way airlines have found to extract fees from passengers who are just trying to see their families. The good news is that this one is easy to avoid, but you have to prepare at home, not at the airport. Buy a digital luggage scale. They cost less than $10. Weigh your bag before you leave the house. If you're over the limit, you have time to adjust. Take out items you don't absolutely need, or shift heavier things into what you're wearing instead of what you're packing. Wear your boots or heavy shoes through security instead of packing them. Put your jacket on instead of folding it into the bag. And here's a packing philosophy that works in 2026. If you're not going to use something at least 3 times during your trip, leave it at home. That mindset alone will save you from overpacking and from the fees that come with it. Have you ever been hit with a surprise baggage fee? What's the most ridiculous thing an airline has charged you for? Let me know in the comments, because I'm hearing these stories constantly and it helps everyone to know what to watch out for. Now, let's talk about something that seems minor until it ruins your entire airport experience. For years, people have pushed the boundaries of what counts as a personal item. Oversized purses, backpacks stuffed to bursting, and duffel bags disguised as laptop cases. Airlines mostly let it slide because overhead bins had room and it wasn't worth the fight. But in 2026, the crackdown is real. The new global standard for personal items is 18 inches tall, 14 inches wide, and 8 inches deep. And here's the part that's catching people off guard. The bag has to fit completely under the seat in front of you, not mostly, not kind of, completely. Corners sticking out, that's a violation. A purse that's an inch too wide doesn't qualify. And just like with carry-ons, they're not using visual judgment anymore. They're using scanners and strict enforcement. I spoke with a woman named Linda who's 68 years old. She's been carrying the same large purse for 10 years. It holds her medications, her reading glasses, her phone charger, snacks for low blood sugar, a book, and all the little things she needs to feel comfortable and safe while traveling. At the gate in Atlanta, an agent told her the purse was too big to count as a personal item. Linda tried to explain that it was just a purse, that she'd carried it on hundreds of flights. The agent didn't care. The scanner said it didn't fit the dimensions, and that was the end of the discussion. Linda had to consolidate everything into a smaller bag she bought at an airport shop for $40. And she had to throw away the purse she'd been using for a decade because she couldn't fit it anywhere else. Why does this hit seniors particularly hard? Because you're more likely to need medications, medical devices, extra layers in case the plane is cold, reading materials, snacks in case of delays. All of that takes space. And the personal item size limit just shrank dramatically. Here's how to adapt. Switch to soft-sided bags for your personal item. Hard-sided bags don't compress. Soft materials give you a little flexibility when you're trying to fit something under a seat. Focus on organization. A well-compartmentalized bag holds more without bulging. And, most importantly, keep your absolute essentials in your personal item. Passport, medications, phone, charger, glasses, anything you'd be in serious trouble without. That way, if your carry-on ends up getting gate-checked because the overhead bins fill up, you're not stranded without the things you need. Speaking of things getting taken away at security, let's talk about liquids, because in 2026, the rules are both better and worse at the same time. For nearly 20 years, the 311 rule has been the law of the land. 3-ounce containers, 1 quart-sized bag, 1 bag per person. Travelers have been dumping out expensive shampoo and transferring lotions into tiny bottles since 2006. But in 2026, some airports have finally upgraded to next-generation CT scanners that can detect threats in full-size liquid containers. That means at certain airports, you can now carry full-size bottles of shampoo, lotion, even sunscreen in your carry-on. No more tiny bottles. No more half-empty toiletries tossed in the trash. Sounds like a win, right? And it would be, except for one massive problem. Not every airport has the new scanners. Major hubs like Atlanta, Dallas-Fort Worth, and London Heathrow have started rolling them out, but smaller regional airports, connecting airports, international hubs in other countries, many of them are still using the old technology and enforcing the old 311 rule. So here's what's happening. A passenger flies out of a major hub where full-size liquids are allowed. They pack a regular-sized bottle of expensive face cream or prescription lotion. Everything's fine at their departure airport, but when they connect through a smaller airport on the way back, security pulls the bottle and confiscates it. $60 worth of skincare? Gone. A prescription cream that costs $200 to replace? Tossed in a bin? And there's no consistency in how airports communicate which rules they're using. Some post it on their websites, others don't mention it at all. Travelers are left guessing, and guessing wrong costs money. Margaret learned this the hard way. She's 71 and has a skin condition that requires a prescription cream. She checked her departure airport's website and saw they allowed full-size liquids with the new scanners. She packed a 3-month supply because she was going to be visiting family for an extended stay. At her connection in Charlotte, security confiscated the entire tube. It wasn't on the approved list for that airport. The replacement cost, with her insurance, was $180. She couldn't get the prescription filled again for another month. She spent 3 weeks of her family visit dealing with a flare-up that could have been avoided if anyone had warned her that the rules weren't universal. Here's how to protect yourself. Pack liquids defensively. Keep them in a clear zippered pouch at the very top of your bag. If the airport allows full size, great. If not, you can pull the pouch out quickly without unpacking everything. Better yet, switch to solid alternatives whenever possible. Shampoo bars, solid deodorant, solid cologne. These don't count toward liquid limits. They never leak, and they work at every airport regardless of scanner technology. And before any trip, check the websites for both your departure airport and any layover airports. Many now list which terminals use the updated scanners. One quick search can save you from losing expensive products you can't easily replace. Now, let's talk about electronics, because this is the rule that catches people completely off guard and can cost you more than just money. It can cost you your devices. In 2026, security doesn't just want to see your electronics, they want to see them work. If an agent asks you to power on your phone, tablet, or laptop and the device won't turn on, it's flagged as suspicious. Dead battery? Doesn't matter. Broken screen but it still technically functions? Doesn't matter. If it can't visibly power on and show a working screen when asked, it doesn't fly. It gets confiscated right there, and you don't get it back. This policy exists because of concerns about dummy devices being used to smuggle contraband or worse. But in practice, it's catching innocent travelers whose devices just happen to have dead batteries after a long day of travel. Here's what makes it worse. The rule extends to power banks. Those portable battery chargers that everyone travels with now. Power banks are subject to strict global standards based on one measurement that most people have never heard of. Watt hours. If your power bank is under 100 watt hours, you're fine. Between 100 and 160, you need airline approval in advance. Over 160, it's completely banned. You'd think this would be clearly labeled on every power bank, but it's not. Some manufacturers print it in tiny text on the bottom, others don't include it at all. And if a security agent asks to see the watt-hour rating and you can't show it, they can confiscate the power bank on the spot. Let me tell you about David. He's 70, and he bought a high-capacity power bank a few years ago so he could keep his phone and tablet charged on long flights. He had no idea what watt-hours meant. At security in San Francisco, an agent asked to see the rating. David couldn't find it on the device. The agent took the power bank and told him he could file a claim online if he wanted it back. David never got it back, and he never found out if it was even over the limit. It just disappeared into the confiscation pile. And there's one more trap with electronics that's catching seniors in particular. There's a limit to how many battery-powered devices you can carry on board. Most airlines cap it at 15 to 20 items. That sounds like a lot until you start counting: phone, tablet, laptop, e-reader, headphones, smartwatch, Bluetooth speaker, portable charger, camera, electric toothbrush, hearing aids, electric shaver. Suddenly you're at 12 items and you haven't even packed anything unusual. If you go over the limit, you'll be asked to remove items from your carry-on and either check them or leave them behind. Here's how to avoid all of this. First, charge every single electronic device the night before you fly: tablet, phone, laptop, everything. Make sure they can all power on when asked. Second, keep your charging cables and power banks near the top of your bag so you can access them quickly if needed. Third, take a photo of the label on your power bank that shows the watt-hour rating. If the label has worn off or it's hard to read, having a photo can save you from confiscation. And fourth, if a device doesn't hold a charge anymore or you're not sure you'll actually use it on the trip, leave it at home. In 2026, every device in your bag is a potential point of failure. Now, if you bought one of those fancy smart suitcases in the last few years, the kind with built-in GPS tracking and USB charging ports, you need to hear this. Those bags might not be allowed to fly anymore. The rule is simple but strict. If the battery inside the suitcase cannot be easily removed, the bag cannot be checked, and in many cases, it can't even be carried on. The reason goes back to lithium-ion battery fires. Over the past few years, there have been multiple incidents of fires in cargo holds traced back to batteries embedded in luggage. Smoke, emergency landings, complete evacuations. Airlines and regulators took notice, and in 2026, the hammer came down. If your smart suitcase has a battery, that battery must be removable without tools, not buried under 3 zippers. Not requiring a screwdriver, it has to pop out easily, and you have to be able to show that to a security agent if asked. At airports across the country, travelers are being stopped and asked to demonstrate that their smart luggage battery is removable. If it's welded in, if it requires disassembly, if the agent isn't satisfied that it meets the standard, you're faced with an impossible choice. Check the bag completely empty, which defeats the entire purpose, or abandon it at the airport. I know a woman named Patricia who spent $400 on a high-tech suitcase 2 years ago. It had a built-in scale, GPS tracking, and a charging port. She loved it. It made her feel secure knowing she could always find her bag and charge her phone. But the battery was integrated into the frame. It couldn't be removed. At the airport in Phoenix, a security agent told her the bag couldn't fly. Patricia tried to explain that it was expensive, that she'd used it on other flights before. The agent said the rules changed and there was nothing she could do. Patricia had to buy a new suitcase at an airport shop for $150, transfer everything over, and leave her $400 smart bag behind. The airline didn't compensate her, the luggage company didn't take it back. She was just out the money. If you have a smart suitcase, check right now whether the battery is removable. Look for labels that say things like airline safe, battery design, or TSA approved removable, power. Test the removal process at home. If it takes more than 10 seconds or requires any tools, you're at risk. The best smart luggage now comes with quick-release battery packs that pop out with the press of a button. Those designs get through security without issues. Anything else is a gamble. Let's talk about something that's not technically a rule, but feels like a battle every single time you fly. The overhead bin wars. Planes are more crowded than ever. Airlines have been adding extra rows of seats, cutting legroom, and packing in as many passengers as physically possible. More people on board means less overhead bin space per person. The result is a mad scramble the moment boarding begins. Everyone's trying to get their bag into a bin before the space runs out. And here's the thing. If you board late, even if your carry-on is perfectly sized and perfectly compliant, there might not be any space left for it. Flight attendants will then tag your bag, send it down to the cargo hold, and you lose access to everything inside for the entire flight. This is a particular problem for seniors because you often need more time to board. You might need to use the restroom before a long flight. You might want to grab a bottle of water or a snack. You might just move a little slower because of age or mobility issues. All of that is completely reasonable. But in the overhead bin wars of 2026, reasonable doesn't matter. Speed matters. I talked to a woman named Susan who's 69 and has diabetes. She always carries her medication and glucose monitor in her carry-on. On a flight from Denver to Miami, Susan boarded in the middle of her group. By the time she got to her row, the overhead bins were full. The flight attendant gate-checked her bag. Susan tried to explain that she had medical supplies inside. The attendant said she could keep a small personal bag, but the carry-on had to go. Susan spent the next 5 hours of the flight without access to her backup insulin. She was fine because she had enough in her purse, but if there had been a delay or a medical issue, she would have been in serious trouble, all because she boarded 3 minutes later than the passengers who sprinted down the jet bridge. Here's the strategy that works. Board the absolute moment your group is called. Not after you finish your coffee. Not after one more trip to the bathroom. The second they announce your group, you get in line. If you're traveling with a partner or family member, coordinate your luggage. Instead of both bringing full-sized carry-ons, share one carry-on and use the second allowance for 2 personal items. It cuts your overhead bin needs in half and doubles your chances of keeping your bags with you. And no matter what, always keep your absolute essentials in your personal item that goes under the seat in front of you. Medications, passport, phone, charger, anything you'd be in serious trouble without. That bag stays with you no matter what happens to your carry-on. In 2026, overhead bin space isn't a given anymore. It's a resource, it's limited, and it goes to whoever gets there first. So why did all of this change at once? Why did airlines and airports suddenly decide to crack down on bags, weights, liquids, electronics, all of it? The official answer is efficiency and safety. Standardized rules make security faster. Smaller bags mean faster boarding. Weight limits save fuel. It all sounds very reasonable. But here's the truth that airlines won't say out loud. This is about money. Baggage fees bring in over $7 billion a year for US airlines alone. Every time someone is forced to check a bag they plan to carry on, that's $50 to $75 in revenue. Every overweight bag, every oversized personal item, every confiscated power bank that forces someone to buy a new one at the airport, it all adds up. And the technology makes enforcement automatic. There's no more pleading your case to a sympathetic gate agent. A laser scanner measures your bag, a scale weighs it, and the computer decides. The human element is gone. You can't explain that you've been using this bag for 15 years. You can't point out that it fit fine on your last flight. The machine says no, and that's final. The biometric tracking, the facial recognition, the real-time data collection that airports are calling the new ecosystem, it's not just about efficiency, it's about control and monetization. Every inch of your luggage is tracked. Every gram is weighed. Every movement through the terminal is logged. You're not a passenger anymore. You're a data point, and data points generate revenue. And here's what really stings. After decades of loyalty to certain airlines, after hundreds of flights, after being a reliable customer who showed up on time and followed the rules, there's no grace period, no grandfather clause, no consideration for the fact that the bag you're carrying worked perfectly. Well, until someone changed the standard overnight, you're just expected to comply, to adapt, and to pay up when you don't. Does this feel like it's about safety, or does it feel like it's about money? Drop a comment. I want to know what you think. Right, safety or money? Let's see what the consensus is. Alright, let's talk about what you can actually do to protect yourself. Because knowledge without action doesn't help anyone. Here's your 2026 airport survival checklist. And I want you to actually do these things, not just nod along and forget about them. At home, before you even start packing, measure your carry-on bag with a tape measure. Include the wheels, include the handle, include any external pockets. Write down the measurements and compare them to the new standard, 22 by 14 by 9 inches. If you're over in any dimension, you need a new bag or you need to accept that you'll be paying check fees every time you fly. Buy a $10 digital luggage scale and weigh your packed bag before you leave the house. If you're over the weight limit, you have time to adjust at home instead of making panicked decisions at the airport. Charge every electronic device to 100% the night before you travel: phone, tablet, laptop, e-reader, everything. Make sure they all power on. If something won't hold a charge anymore, leave it at home. It's not worth the risk of confiscation. Take a photo of the label on your power bank that shows the watt-hour rating. If the label is worn or missing, look up the model number online and save a screenshot. Security agents can confiscate power banks if they can't verify the rating. Check the websites for your departure airport and any layover airports to see if they use the new CT scanners that allow full-size liquids. If you're not sure, pack liquids the old way. 3-ounce containers in a quart-sized bag at the top of your luggage. If you have a smart suitcase, test the battery removal at home. If it takes tools or more than a few seconds, that bag is a liability. When you're packing, put all of your absolute essentials in your personal item. Medications, passport, phone, charger, glasses, anything you'd be in serious trouble without. That bag goes under the seat and stays with you no matter what. Keep liquids in a clear bag at the very top of your carry-on so you can pull it out quickly if needed. Wear your heaviest items through security instead of packing them. Heavy jacket, boots, anything that adds weight to your bag. At the airport, arrive at least 30 minutes earlier than you used to. The new security procedures take longer, and if something goes wrong with your bag, you need time to deal with it. Board immediately when your group is called. Don't stop for coffee, don't make one more bathroom run, get in line. Overhead bins, space goes fast. Be ready to show that your electronics can power on if asked. Keep your phone charged and accessible. And here's the mindset shift you need to make. Airlines are not your friend. They're a business, and their goal is to extract as much money from you as possible while providing the minimum required service. Assume the system will work against you. Prepare for the worst case. Don't rely on human discretion because there isn't any anymore. Machines make the decisions, and machines don't care about your explanations. Let me bring this back to where we started, with Linda and her $300 bag fee. After that trip, Linda did some research. She measured all of her luggage. She bought a new carry-on that's certified as 2026 compliant. She bought a luggage scale. She started charging all of her devices the night before travel. She reorganized her packing so that everything essential is in a smaller personal item that fits under the seat. And you know what? Her last flight was smooth. No surprises, no fees, no humiliation at the gate. She knew the rules, she prepared for them, and she avoided the traps that are catching so many other people. This isn't the flying experience you remember from 10 or 20 years ago. It's harder, it's more expensive, and it's designed to catch you off guard. But that doesn't mean you're helpless. Knowledge is power, and now you have the knowledge. You know, about the size limits, the weight enforcement, the personal item crackdown, the liquid rule confusion, the electronics requirements, the smart luggage battery rules, and the overhead bin competition. You know what to measure, what to weigh, what to charge, and what to keep close. You know that the system isn't designed to help you. It's designed to generate revenue, but you also know how to navigate it without paying the penalty. You've been traveling for decades. You've seen airports evolve, security change, airlines merge, and rebrand. You've adapted before, and you can adapt again. Don't let these new rules intimidate you or stop you from seeing your family. Just be smarter than the system expects you to be. Right now, today, take 3 actions. First, go measure and weigh your current luggage. Find out if it still works or if you need to replace it. Second, buy a $10 luggage scale. It's the best investment you can make for hassle-free travel. Third, screenshot this checklist or write it down somewhere. You'll actually see it before your next trip. And if you know someone who's flying soon, someone who might not know about these changes, share this video with them. It could save them hundreds of dollars and a lot of stress. Which of these 7 rules shocked you the most? Was it the bag size crackdown, the weight enforcement, the overhead bin wars? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what's catching people the most off guard. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss travel updates that actually matter. I'm tracking every policy change, every new fee, every trick airlines are using, and I'll keep you informed so you're never the one standing at the gate wondering what went wrong. The rules changed overnight, but now you're ready. They're counting on you not knowing. Prove them wrong.